Hello, my name is Robert Turnšek. I'm an IT architect at NIL, doing IT business last 20 years, currently focusing mostly on, let's say, emerging technologies like cloud, software-defined, whatever, and this kind of stuff. So you probably, if you're a regular attendee of our webinars, you already hear about me. So today we have a topic about management, so about operations, about the monitoring, this kind of stuff. There is a lot of improvement, not just from Microsoft, but also from other vendors. So let's start because we have a lot of content. So the agenda for today is, as usual, we'll have some slides at the beginning, and at the end, we'll do the demo. Okay, so why are we doing all this stuff? If you are coming from the IT, you know that we have more devices every day. So let's say 5-10 years ago, we had just some kind of private data centers, and everything was behind the firewall, so we basically have to take care about what's behind the firewall. Today, this is not true anymore. So almost everybody has to take care also about something outside their environment. Nowadays, you also have to take care about the stuff which is not behind the firewall. That's one perspective. Another stuff is you have to also take care about the multiple variety of the devices which are not under your control. So like Internet of Things, microservices, and all these sources are creating a huge amount of data. So how to handle it? That's the big question. So just store them and forget about them and look them when some problems occur, or to do something better. So this is the Microsoft view on the management. So you already know that there is a System Center suite, a lot of products, mostly for the operations and the management is System Center Operations Manager, or SCOM, which is on-prem installation and takes care primarily about the Microsoft environment installed inside the data center. So what Microsoft did said, okay, we have already a cloud there. There is the Azure. So why wouldn't we offer to the customers System Center Operations Manager from the cloud? So that was the initial idea of the OMS, Operations Management Suite. So that was the initial idea primarily from the first 2 points, log analytics and automation. Further on, they figured it out that if you have this in the cloud, where you have basically unlimited power and really good big data and analytics, you can do a really nice things. And this is what OMS is all about. A little bit different view. So now we have OMS, Operations Management Suite, in the center. And from the OMS, we can manage, monitor, operate all different versions, different instances. So for example, we can operate, of course, private cloud. Here with the private cloud, it's not necessary to be a cloud. It can be a normal data center. So don't be afraid that you have to have a cloud for that. So it can be a normal data center. We can still use System Center Operations Manager and other configuration manager, and connect it together with the OMS. Or if we greenfield from that point of view, we can just start using OMS directly with our private installation. On the other hand, Microsoft supports also the Azure, of course, that's self-understanding, but also the other clouds like Amazon Web Services. And in the private cloud, it's not just, we're not talking about just Microsoft, we're talking also about VMware, OpenStack, and we're talking about also Linux and Windows. So that's mostly of deployed workloads are supported. This is the current status. So in the future, if there are some other sources, of course, this will be also supported, at least from the log perspective, so from the analytics part. So why OMS? Why somebody would use OMS? The first stuff, it's simple. For those who already deployed System Center Operations Manager, you have to have the infrastructure. You have to have people to take care about your infrastructure for OMS and for the other products you're running there. This is okay for big companies, but medium to up to 1,000 can be a challenge because you have to set up the infrastructure and the whole product and at your prem. It takes some time. So with OMS, you will see, we'll do one OMS setup today during the demo from scratch. Will be up and running in 5 to 10 minutes. Easy to integrate. So the operations manager were primarily focusing on the Microsoft environment. There were some integration points, but primarily Microsoft. Here, the approach is totally different. Let's integrate whatever there is. So whatever can give us some information, let's integrate. Hybrid is just a different view, so either on-prem, hybrid, public cloud, private cloud, everything is supported. And for those who already have System Center, as I said, it can be an add-on to System Center. You can save some, let's say, time to deploy the agents because they're already deployed because of the System Center. And also the licensing is different if you use an add-on to System Center. So what's OMS? OMS is basically these four pillars, these four solutions. Initial one is log analytics. That's the basic of everything. So you can imagine that OMS, the log analytics, is basically you have your event viewer in Windows, you have your syslog, you have your performance monitoring, you have your prods data in Linux or performance monitoring in Windows, and you send all these data to OMS. That's from the private cloud. Then let's say from the network devices, from whatever device there is some log, like in text form or in binary, you send it up to the OMS. The same is done also for the Azure loads. So let's say storage in the Azure, virtual machine in the Azure, gateway in the Azure. So every day as many new stuff. And you send this up there, and all this data is then indexed, processed by big data, the ability of the cloud. And at the end, you get a nice dashboard where you can see the high-level overview, or you have a little bit more detail. We'll talk this later on. The next part is automation. You already know that in the System Center product, you also have the orchestrator. And another product, it's called PowerShell. So combining these two together and running them from the cloud is getting us automation to orchestrate, let's say, repetitive tasks or complex tasks. The next part is availability. So availability is basically Azure Backup and Azure Disaster Recovery. We'll not talk about these two today because we had a separate webinar about the Azure Backup and Disaster Recovery. The last part, which will be basically the second part today in our presentation, is about security. If you remember a few minutes before, I said you send a lot of different logs, different information to OMS. And if you look on this information from different point of view, so from the security point of view, let's say you are looking at how many times somebody mistyped the password, so the service crash, and if you combine together, you get quite very valuable security insights. So this is, let's say, the look at the OMS dashboard. There are different solutions. We'll talk about this later. When we have the data inside the OMS, we deploy different solutions. Some are developed by Microsoft, but the solution part is also open to third party, and there already start to appear third-party vendors which will offer the additional solutions. For example, I was just listening to presentations a few days ago about buyer data. There is a third-party company called ExtraHop, which basically do the sniffing of the traffic, and they are creating a solution which fits into OMS. So you will be able from the OMS to see directly who's talking to who on, let's say, network layer. So that's one of the extensions where the whole stuff is going. The OMS is open from the, let's say, collection of the data and also from the solution part. So I expect that there will be more and more new interesting packages appearing from different points of view. So if we now, let's say, a little bit talk about all of these four pillars we have in the OMS. As I said in the beginning, log analytics is the cornerstone, the basic of the OMS. All the logs, everything you send to OMS. And then you have the analytics and the big data processing. And on top of it, you add solution packs. So solution packs are the way how you represent the data so that it's more human readable. By default, in the solution pack, can you add or remove them? Or usually you just go to the store. We show this in the demo. Add the solution pack, and that's it. In some cases, you have to do a little bit more with the solution pack, maybe change some parameters at the client, or connect to Azure, let's say, automation account for, let's say, Azure automation. Besides this nice representation of the information, we also have the integrated search. The idea of integrated search is that you basically query across all the data almost in the natural language. So you just type in the name of the computer and you see the information will be filtered down to what kind of logs you have for this computer. That's one view. The second view, you select the time frame. So you can do 7 days behind, 5 days, 2 days, several hours. So you basically zero in, or let's say drill down to the problem or to the answer, to cause of the things you are searching. And of course you can do some kind of grouping, pivoting, so quite powerful search. Besides the dashboards which you get through solutions, you can also create your own custom dashboards. Basically, for every search you do, you can create a dashboard. So like this one, so this is just an example. We'll show some dashboard in the demo. The second part which we will touch today is the security. The security, as I said, is an add-on to the log analytics. What is already there in the system, additional solutions were created, and basically it allows you to do some actions before the attack, so to have your server's patch correctly set up. So everything is okay, let's say from the firewall perspectives and from the settings perspective. And at the end that you also see the unfortunate event happened, that you have also the forensic, that you have the information needed to, let's say, to figure out what really happened and how to protect yourself better in future, or to give this information to police or to other institutions which take care about breaches. So security and audit, as I said, another solution where you see a nice overview, and of course you can always drill down to get the exact why these numbers are written in that way, why these numbers are there. Automation, today we'll focus primarily on log analytics and security. Automation is so huge topic that we can have another webinar just about automation. I will just touch a little bit what automation is, but there will be no demo on that part. So why we have automation? You know, in the IT, you have a lot of tasks which you have to do daily, on daily basis, weekly basis, and for example, patching or changing some settings or whatever, you name it, or creating a new servers or this kind of stuff. So this can be all automated, primarily if you're using Microsoft environment. Most of the things is done in PowerShell. You've seen this, you've seen the PowerShell, how Azure can be operated by PowerShell. We also show today some PowerShell commands. Another part here is important. Microsoft is creating a rambook gallery. So you don't have to start from scratch. There are already rambooks created for common tasks. Some are done by the Microsoft, and they also, let's say, give you some guarantee that they will be okay. Most of them is done by community or IT guys, and for that you have to be a little bit check them if they're okay or they suit your needs. And of course everything is logged, so you see if automation did what you expect. It's run on the Azure, so you will never run out of the resources, and you can automate all the environments the OMS supports. This is, let's say, just a high-level overview how everything looks like. Let's say 26 rambooks, 215 jobs in the last 7 days, this kind of stuff. It's using underlying automation portal of the Azure. So for those who are not so good in programming or in PowerShell, there's also a graphical representation. So you basically create a workflow, and then you just change the rule, go left or go right, and you just read some variables and then you execute. So you can do everything graphically. Availability, so as I said, availability is backup and disaster recovery. So Azure Backup, which you can basically back up any operating systems, so Windows, Linux, Hyper-V directly, so that you back up the virtual machines. You can do the same with VMware. You see that Microsoft is not just Microsoft anymore. And the disaster recovery is then the add-on of the backup, so all your data is already in the data center. If you lose your primary data center, all your data is already in the Azure, so if you lose your primary data center, you can just spin up the machines there and start working almost immediately. Of course, it will be a bit slower because it's in Ireland or in Amsterdam, or depends on the world you are, or where did you decide to do the backup. But you will have the services up and running in, let's say, a few hours, minutes, depends on how well did you prepare your disaster recovery plan. And when you have, let's say, the hardware back or the new data center up and running, you can then just migrate the data back to your data center. So as I said, availability will not be covered today because we already did the separate webinar just for that. Okay, I want to have the OMS, so how can I get it? So as I said at the beginning, you have to see if you're already using the System Center, of course, with software assurance. So if you have it, then you just go with the OMS add-on. Add-on is cheaper, and then they have full-blown license. If I don't have the System Center, I can go for the OMS full subscription. Then I also get the System Center license included, so I can still have private data center, let's say from the security point of view, or if I want to have the data more closely, I still have the System Center on-prem and integrated with the OMS. Or if I just want some of these 4 services, I can just use these 4 services. Okay, that's from the slide perspective. Now let's go to real stuff. OMS, you can go on 2 different ways. Either you can go microsoft.com/OMS. That's, let's say, one way if you don't have the Azure yet. So you go just to the OMS, and you have here how to start, sign in, or just sign in with the Live ID account, or if you have Office 365, you sign in with the company account. One thing for the OMS, which is really interesting, is that you can get free version. There are basically three versions. The free one, which is limited to 500 minutes of the rambooks per day, and also to some amount of traffic logs you can send up there to the OMS. Otherwise, you have these 2 suites. So this is if you go from scratch, so the full-blown package, or if you just want to do insight analytics automation control without security, without the backup inside recovery. So, but you always get the on-prem System Center. So it's always charged per node. If you want to do just different stuff, you can go by choose and pick. If you already have the System Center, then it's an upgrade, it's add-on. So that's from that point of view, okay? If we go to, let's say, because this is Azure webinar, we start as usually in the Azure portal. So we go to the portal, log in with the correct username. Let's see all resources. This is already prepared for the later on. Let's first create a new OMS app. So what we have here, what I prepared in advance, I just create an automation account. And the rest is I have one Windows Server 2016. It was just released, and I have one storage account, and that's about it. The rest is directly connected with the Windows Server. So if I want to start the OMS, I have to do this log part. So I try to search something log, get the log analytics. So I see log analytics. I can do some helps as usual. Always on almost every step there is a help button, so you can really help yourself. Now we have to give us a name. Let's say Azure Under the Hood. Nobody used that one. Okay, short one. So correct subscription. Resource group in that subscription. Okay, use existing. Something is missing here. So, okay, West Europe and pricing tier. Okay, now it's appeared. Okay, existing resource group. As if you remember from previous WebEx, now the Azure everything is, let's say, tied together with the resource group. So you have to have a resource group for everything. And this is the tiers which I was explaining before. So we'll just do the free one. So we get the 500 mega logs per day. It might be a lot or not. It depends. If you're just sending syslogs, this kind of stuff, from let's say 10, 20, 30 machines, I think it's enough. The more challenging here is that the retention. So you can go only 7 days behind, and the activity log is for 90 days. And the rambooks, as I told you, is 500 minutes. As soon you need more, you can change to bigger package, and you see here the prices for the bigger packages. You can select with the free one, and when then you are satisfied with the setup, you can always change to a different package later on. So free, let's see, okay, submitting deployment. This goes a lot faster usually than the, let's say, creating a network gateway. We are already deployment starting. Okay, so let's go, let's close this kind of stuff. Okay, deployment started. We'll wait for a minute or two. If it's not deployed, we always have a backup plan where everything is already deployed. Okay, deployment successful. So go back to our all resources. So now you see AutoH log analytics. So here I see the setups, I can change it, or the most important part, I can go to the portal. Now I go to the OMS portal. URL is always the name of your OMS, portal.mms.microsoft.com. And at the beginning, this is the initial setup, initial start, initial things you get in the portal. First, as I said, we have to start sending some data inside. Let's see, connected sources. Here is the instruction how you basically set up the Windows server. When you connect the sources, you have three choices. First one is, as I mentioned, if you have the System Center Operations Manager here, you just start the System Center Operations Manager console and connect from the System Center to the OMS. The second and the third options are here, so this is done manually. So you can connect Windows Server, Linux Server manually, and you can do this in two ways. Either you connect them directly, I will show you right now. So here I have one Windows Server. There's a Windows Server, it's installed on our demo environment. So I already downloaded the agents so that we are not waiting for the agent to download, and try to install it. Okay, I agree. Let's do the next. So connect to the OMS. I now need the information to which OMS to connect to. So I have the workspace here, allow access, copy it. And then I have the primary key, copy. And so if I want to do something advanced, so if I use proxy, that's another stuff. So that's the another approach. So I can create some kind of the log analytics forwarder on one of the servers, one of, let's say, virtual machines in my data center. And then all my clients are connecting through this forwarder. So basically that my policy in the data center is done in that way that I'm not allowed to connect from the servers to the internet. So in that case, I would use forwarder. I would put the forwarder in the DMZ, and all my Azure Log Analytics clients would connect to that forwarder, and forwarder would then forward everything to my subscription. The installation of the forwarder is in two steps. So firstly, you install the agent, and then add on, you just type in the Google Log Analytics forwarder, download the special package, upload it, and that's it. And then, of course, you have to change the setup of all the agents. They are already installed. So that's how I do it on Windows. So that was Windows installation. So if I'm lucky, in a few minutes I will see one server connected. Let's do for the Linux. So for the Linux, we have a similar. So here I have a Linux client. Again, similar IP address, so somewhere in my private data center. Let's see if there is some Microsoft stuff is running. Nothing on Microsoft, but as before, I put some stuff already in the, so I already have the agent. And here you do the SH, okay, if you help, nice help, then let's say install. You can do in two steps, so you either just install it or you already specify the keys. So workspace key and the shared key. Don't press that one. That way. And you wait a few minutes. Starting. So you see at the end here, if you have some additional packages, additional software installed, so Apache, Docker, MySQL, OMS will add the, let's say, the capability to get the logs from that systems. So if you add afterwards, you have to do the installation again and change the installation. So see, okay, still no servers, it takes some time. Okay, the next part I want to show you is also, okay, I said we can do Windows servers, we can do Linux servers, but you can also do, let's say, VMware, for example. What I have here is the one small installation of the VMware. So it's basically a vCenter with one host. And unfortunately with VMware is done in that way that you have to do it per host, not per vCenter. So you have you go to the host, configuration, advanced setting, and then you look for syslog. Going the syslog. So you find the syslog global localhost, and you change this to TCP. That's, let's say, a bit not usual. So the syslog is usually using UDP 514, and here the OMS is using TCP 1514. You change this, and then each ESX will start sending the information to the Linux. And on the Linux, that's the old one, that's the new one. That's our syslog. Host name is syslog, and if you look netstat here, so we have netstat. We just grab that port. Okay, nobody is connected right now. Okay, no information. Maybe later on the information starts. So you will see TCP session to. So we see here some Microsoft, and also we see here some Microsoft. For the VMware, you need basically a proxy, which is one Linux machine, and then you have to change a little bit in the client itself. So I can just copy the file which you already get in the installation of the agent to the config directory, change the ownership of that file, and just restart the client. So basically not a lot to do. This is the example where you have to change something, not just in the data center, but also on the client side. Okay, so that was from the installation in your private data centers. So the next part, okay, we added some Windows, Linux when they will connect in a few minutes. You have to also add the data part, so what really you want to see. So for example, Windows event log, you want to see system. So system, you want to see then it's what? Application. Application security is handled different way. So that's how you want to see here, save at the end. Windows performance counters, there are some already recommended. For start, this is good. So you just do the add the selected performance counter. You can change the interval, save. Okay. Linux, the same. Leave it as default, save. So now, basically, in ISS logs, okay, so if there is a Microsoft web server on some machine, it's already start to collecting the data. Custom fields are usually done by solutions, the typical software solutions, they filled up automatically, and the syslog, so the syslog is similar, so you can say cron tab, for example, you can do kernel, so different facilities in the cron tab. So this is basically the setup from the data getting in. So the next part is you add the solutions. So here you have the solution gallery divided to these 4 pillars we already were talking about. So insight and analytics. So for example, you see, okay, I want to do monitoring preview, just add. You go into the store here, Azure Automation Analytics. So that one which was okay, not installed yet, and you add the solutions. So you see 2 data sources connected. So there are also that 2 servers. You see they are now here. So you see that was the initial setup of the OMS, 10-15 minutes. Because the OMS needs some time, you have to start collecting the data not just for last 5 minutes, but let's say several days more. I will now switch to different OMS. I will now close that one. That one just serves to get installation, initial installation. Now let's go to the other one, where I'm collecting the data a bit more. So, okay, it's in the store sense as usual. So you see here, it's a lot more stuff, and there are a lot of solutions. So we go again to my Azure Robilog and open OMS portal. If you remember, the easiest way to this would be microsoft.com/OMS. And I would open the OMS portal there. Now the new OMS will open. So you see you can have multiple OMS portals if you wish. And this is now the OMS portal with a lot more data already inside. So there are several servers sending, and you see I was really trigger happy adding a lot of solutions. So from the connected sources, I have 7 servers connected. I have 2 storages in the Azure. I don't have System Center because it was out of the scope of this, but we are using Office 365, so I added also Office 365. Adding the Office 365 is quite easy. You just type in the username and the password with enough rights, and then you are connected. Data we already seen, so basically the stuff I did before for all of the different data types. Account is, let's say, is where you see the information about your subscription. As I mentioned you before, you can change the subscription, and you can also manage the different users. So currently I'm the only one allowed to connect to the OMS portal, but I could give others, let's say, as read-only from my directory. And the alert is to sending me messages. To email also preview is also some stuff you have to agree that just in the preview. Okay, let's do maybe some interesting stuff. So for example, before, let's say we are talking about search. So the search is there, the one when just typing in. So before I was playing and I tried to log in as a user Lopo. So Slovenian guys will know what it means. It means burglar in English. So I was just typing in on the different accounts, different machines with the different username, which all starts with this Lopo. And you see immediately I get the list of the computers. It looks like I tried 29 times. I didn't do it 29 times. Computer tried several times. So yeah, you see which process, to which machine I tried, from where, as a different domain user, and maybe from which account. So you can really drill down. So let's see this demo. You just click, and then now it's filtered to these 7. So this is okay. It says, yeah, somebody was logged in as a demo administrator and tried to connect as Lopo2 to the target server. So basically, I was sitting on this machine and tried to connect to this machine using this username. Usually the password was, of course, not the correct one, because that user is not even existing. So that's really how you do the search. So basically just type in. So you want to do some SQL, just type in SQL. I get something from VMware. If I want to see what happened, okay, what was VMware related here, you see SQL type is VMware. I get now the information about the VMware inside, so I look a little bit more, maybe maybe just last time, so just 1 hour, so 42 events in that scenario. I look at something with the storage, and if this is not enough, I can add additional filters, so on the different areas. So for example, alerts, a lot of different filters. So and of course there is also always search engine, so just type in how to search in, let's say, OMS, and you get even more details. So that was, let's say, a few sentences about the search. Another one which you typically start looking is the agent health. So you install the stuff to, let's say, 9 machines, and one of my agents is not responding. So yeah, probably I think I killed that machine. That's how you look, let's say, different. And again, always when you go in detail, for example, we have one, if you remember from the last time, we have one test machine. Some of these widgets are done in that way that you can click, some are not. So here I see a lot, I'd say, immediately this IP was interesting for me. So something is happening with this my test computer. So I don't want to see as a chart. I want to see as a table. Nothing, I cannot see anything else. So that IP and the test computer, yeah. So sometimes you get into the dead end. So you just start again. So for example, then let's say networking. So whenever you have these agents, you can change a little bit the configuration of the agent, and then the agents start, let's say, talking to each other around. So here in my environment, I have some virtual machines in Azure, I have some virtual machines in internal IT, and I have some virtual machines in the test. So because there is a firewall in between, the only machine in test can talk to each other, all the rest is forbidden. It would be nice to talk to IT guys that open me some firewall rules. Another one, Office 365, high-level overview. I see, let's say, who is doing the most. Let's say Jan, Likar, this kind of stuff. So from the directory activities, really, so we can drill in. So you see he's using something on SharePoint, site, Office, user, at the end. I probably see also the file which is opening. So file access, I can see really which files were opened by who and from where, which different IP addresses, maybe again unknown IP address. So this is probably he's doing something from home, I assume, because it's not the NIL IP address. And we can do this for hours, for weeks, because we are running out of time. The idea of this presentation was just to give you the initial exposure to the OMS and to maybe persuade you to try it by yourself. It's free. Just go to the Microsoft.com/OMS, create a free subscription. You probably can get quite a lot of data inside. So, okay, I don't know, I forget where I can see how much data I'm generating and then you get really a lot of information, especially when you start a little bit tricking, a little bit, let's say, for example, this is our two SQL servers which I'm monitoring. I have some high priority, so some backups. So you get the really technical links how to change this, and then when you change it, you immediately see the results. So at the end, everything is green. And since the tool is in the cloud, it will be probably improved daily, monthly, weekly. So you will get all the time a lot of new solutions. As I said, open the account and start testing. It's free. It will not expire after 30 days, so you can use it forever, as long as you have the less than 500 meg of logging per day. Okay, that was for today. Thank you for your patience. We have another webinar in a month. We'll be talking about the Store Simple virtual appliance. We had the Store Simple already webinar, but in the meantime, the virtual appliance was also released, so you can do it without hardware. Recording of the webinar will be available sometime next week. Thank you, and have a nice day.